A chocolate potato cake from 1912. This is why we don't perform lobotomies anymore. Boil a potato. Did I mention this was a cake? Skins stay on, unlike Americans. Fire! Cream the butter. Can we at least have coffee first? Butter go boom. Should be a pale white. Eggy. Wakey wakey. Who's tough now? Moo juice. Bloop. Dim. Chocolate. I bet this recipe is just all the wrong answers on a baking test. Smells like dentures. Go away. Goodbye. For the icing, we boil butter, sugar, milk, and chocolate. My time has come. Not bad, dead people. All right. You're not supposed to work. It's incredible, and I'm mad about it. A Civil War cake. Of course it uses lard. Why not? Honey, call the police. 2 cups of raisins. It's always the raisins. Add 1 egg of lard. What are you feeding your chickens? You happy, sister? Ah, fire! A cup of coffee. No. 1 cup of coffee. This is a misdemeanor. I think I've summoned something. Brown sugar. Eggy. Lard. What do you want me to do with this? Call the CDC. This is the South's revenge. Ah. Flour. Apples. Add nuts. How much? I need nut instructions. Woo! Smells deceased. Seems to have collapsed, like the South. Tastes damp. Wet. Pepper cake from 1915. Instead of regular flavorings, this cake uses peppercorn and caraway, which is an interesting idea because it's awful. 1/2 cup of butter. Sugar. 2 eggy. You hate to see it. Add a cup of syrup. What do you want, Miss Butterworth? Ma'am, this is very runny, like me in an hour. To a 1/2 cup of sour cream, we add an entire tablespoon of cracked pepper, caraway, and then the floofers. Introducing the world's worst dip. Get in. Flour. A cup of raisins. Love those. Yay. Bacon oven. Well, at least you specified the appliance. Now, I was gonna bake this in the dishwasher. It's bizarre. It tastes like an identity crisis on a plate. A bologna cake from 1966. What's more American than bologna and cake? Eating it. Pack of cream cheese. A tablespoon of onion powder. Plus 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Boy, honey, this sure does smell like a cake, huh? Luis, I'm taking the kids. Are you ready for bologna? Good, because there's a pound of it. She says you'll find the rest of the recipe quite intuitive. No, I don't. Certainly not. Your friends are going to love the circles of indistinct mammal. Normally, I'm quite comfortable handling meat, but this is physically disturbing me. The last one. To finish, we decorate with spray cheese. This is giving me emotions previously unknown to man. Are you supposed to eat this on crackers or on drugs? It's uncomfy and it's bad. Chocolate beet cake from 66. Now look, I'm no stranger to cakes with bizarre ingredients, but I think the use of pickled beets is the most unorthodox. We start by blending our 15-ounce can of pickled beets. Juice and all, honey. There seems to have been a murder. Now into a bowl goes a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 1½ cups of sugar, a bit of vanilla, 3 eggs. Whisk vigorously. In go the beets. Oh, it's pink. For the dry ingredients, we need 2 cups of flour, 1/3 of a cup of cocoa, pinch of salt, and a teaspoon of baking soda. But there's no acid. Oh, the beets! They might be onto something. Get in. Fold. Oh, it's like velvet. About 50 minutes at 375. For the ganache, we need a 1/2 cup of cream and 4 ounces of chocolate over very low heat. Fire! Just until the chocolate melts and everything is smooth. Oh my. Son of a... It's fantastic. Beets? What's next? Chocolate mayonnaise cake from 56. This has been my most requested cake. Of course, it's the mayonnaise. Flour. Sugar. Floofers. Today you will rise. Powdered cocoa. Why, she smells like chocolate. Mayonnaise. And it's not just a little bit. No, it's a severe, unauthorized cup of mayonnaise. Cup of water. Honey, you can't dilute a war crime. You know, it's horrible now, but I hope it turns out okay. Like children. I'm sending you to summer camp. For the frosting, we boil milk, sugar, cocoa, and margarine. Fire! Beat in mayonnaise to the chocolate. Do you keep it in your purse? Hello. Maybe if I just don't think about it. Good heavens. Holy fuck. Fantastically moist. The chocolate is tangy. I'll concede you were right. Chocolate sauerkraut cake from 48. Thought this was a joke. Turns out I'm the joke. Sauerkraut, a whole cup, soak in water and then drain. Better. 1.5 cups of sugar. Cream time. You can use a mixer. I just do this to feel something. Eggies 3. Flour. 1/2 cup of cocoa. Baking powder. Water. Yummy. Fold in sauerkraut carefully. Or what? I'm gonna ruin your disaster? Can a cake be tried for treason? In she go. I know it's open. Sleep tight. Wow. Bring buttercream and chocolate to a boil. Fire. Okay. No. Incredible. It feels like coconut. I don't taste sauerkraut. Either chocolate fixes everything or this is alchemy. The Christmas fruitcake from 1900. So I've never made a fruitcake, but if you're anything like me, you are one. Start with 1.5 cups of butter and 3 cups of brown sugar. 1/2 cup of treacle and 6 eggs. How big is this cake? 4.5 cups of flour, nutmeg, cloves, allspice, cinnamon, plus 1.5 teaspoons of floof powder. Get in. I present to you the fruit. The mix is 8 ounces each of candied orange peel, pineapple, cherries, dried figs, currants, dates, raisins, all soaked in an obscene amount of brandy. Look away, kids. Oh, that hurts. It's been festering for a few days. 3 cups of walnuts. This is ridiculous. A lot of fruit, brandy, and nuts. Sounds like a good weekend. 300 for 2 hours. Done. Now time for a cheesecloth and more brandy. Well, there goes that. And now we just wait. Ooh. I feel like I'm exhuming a body. Hello. Well, it's very moist and very potent. Don't feed too much to Grandpa. He won't make it down the stairs. Love it or hate it, it's the taste of Christmas. And that's quite fine by me. A coal miner cake from 1936. Starting off on the right foot here with a 1/2 cup of lard. If I cut off my feet, do we still have to do this? This stuff is great, you know. You can run your tractor on it. Brown sugar. Drizzle of molasses. Is this the coal? 4 eggies. They did you dirty. We seem to have made a chamber pot. Flour. Cuckoo. 1/2 cup of strong coffee. Fire. Now we mix baking soda into sour cream. There are too many things happening. Get in. Then we alternate flour, coffee, flour, coffee. You are banished. Has it unionized? Looks good, but looks can be deceiving. Oh. They're very dense and pungent. Suppose I wouldn't mind it if I was in a coal mine, but in a coal mine I'm not. The dump cake from 68. So post-World War II saw the invention of the cake mix, but for some Americans that was still too much work. And so the dump cake was invented. Let's take a dump. Directly into an oiled baking dish goes 20 ounces of pie filling. Goodbye, cherries. Then we just dump cake mix on top. This is sacrilegious, preposterous, daft. Melt a cup of butter. Then you just dump that on too. Then you get to bake your dump. Golly gee. $3.75 for 50 minutes. This is for people who hate baking. And I don't like those people. We have a done dump. It's fresh. Fresh dump. It's an unenthusiastic cobbler. I mean, yeah, it's all right, but it's all wrong. If you're going to bake, bake. A cake should be an occasion, not a disfigured dump on a plate. A gooey butter cake from the 1930s. We start with a cup of flour, 1/3 cup of butter, paper, dash of sugar. You have to look like breadcrumbs. I don't know what type of bread y'all eating. We then press this into a square pan and cast aside, which is dead people talk for put it away. Time for the filling. That's the perfect name for a baking-themed OnlyFans. First is 3/4 cup butter. 1/4 cup of sugar. Butter go butter. 1 egg. This thing's popping. Now we alternate between adding a cup of flour and, because it's the 1930s, 2/3 of a cup of evaporated milk. Flour. 1/4 cup corn syrup. We'll be done by Christmas. Nilla. Whoops. That's a lot of Nilla. I'm guessing the flavor profile is going to be cholesterol. Powdered sugar. $3.50 for a half hour. You know, some dishes aren't amazing, but they are innately comforting. And this is a prime example. Like a hug on a plate. Wow. Poor man's cake from the Great Depression. The Depression was bad, right? People were crawling around on all fours in their yards eating dandelions. No, that's not an exaggeration. Those who were better off, like Ruth here, came up with recipes like this. Though bless her heart, she couldn't spell raisins. That's okay, Ruth. We start by cooking 1 cup of said raisins with 2 cups of water. Fire! We're boiling this until it reduces by half. Then we beat in a whole cup of shortening. I mean, I think that's a little excessive. In goes 1 egg. plus a teaspoon each of ground cloves, allspice, and cinnamon. Ruth, I don't think that's gonna help. Finally, we add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 2 cups of flour. Oh, this does not look right. There are no baking instructions at all, so we're just gonna do 350 for Lord knows how long. About 45 minutes. Did you notice there was no sugar? My legs are shaking, and not in the good way. Well, that tastes like a diagnosis that is severe. A pork belly fruitcake from 1915. Meat and desserts was quite common back then. So was botulism. Steep a pound of pork in a cup of water. Fire! Honey, would you like Earl Grey or pork? I'll take a divorce. Sugar! Cup of molasses. Sweet, bitter, and meaty. Like my ex. Yeah, why is it foaming? Do you think you could hear me? Currants. Peel. Apple juice. What? Ginger. Don't say it, Dylan. Cinnamon. Needs flour. 1, 2, 3. How big is this cake? 350 for 2.5 hours. Suppose any less and it might gain consciousness. Chungus. She's looking like a house foundation. All right, we got 2 fruitcakes here. What's scary is that it's not terrible. It's got this oily richness to it, but something just ain't right. I think it's the pound of pork. Pound cake from 1904. Pound cake is one of my favorite things to do, but I'm single, so it's been a while. It's called such because the traditional recipe is a pound each of butter, sugar, eggs, and flour. Nothing else. We start by beating the butter. Now we slowly cream in a pound of sugar. Oh boy! Now I'm beating and creaming by hand because, as any man could tell you, that's how we all first learned. Good heavens! How many eggs? 9. We beat them in gradually. This is wild. And finally, the flour. Fold into a bunt. We bake this in a moderately slow oven for 80 to 100 minutes. Hello? I really just JFK'd this cake. Man, that's wonderful. For something that doesn't have any flavoring at all, you would not believe it. With a texture like nothing else. It's very good. But we don't talk about this. A ration cake from World War II. So it's the 40s and we don't have any butter, sugar, milk, or eggs, and we need to make a cake. What do? Panic! Into a saucepan goes 2 cups of raisins, plus 1 cup of water. In the interests of civil defense, we look to raisins to substitute our sugar. So you want me to boil raisins? It ain't easy being a patriot. Fire! This is awful. A half cup of lard. Just give up. Don't make a cake. A whole cup of molasses. No, this is not worth it. It's not. Looks like barbecue sauce. Smells of death. For the dry ingredients, we need 1.5 cups of flour. Half teaspoon of baking soda. And the only spice we get is cloves. Cloves. It's always the cloves. Mash the raisins. It's been nice knowing you. This would make me enlist. Get in. Get off. $3.25 for an hour. Oh no. Oh no, ma'am. Just no. A tomato soup cake from 1950. What's the difference between margarine and shortening? The amount of time spent on the toilet. Need reinforcements. Sugar in a carton. Creamy. Sift your flour 3 times. Lady, your cake has tomato soup in it. This is the least of your worries. Cloves, cinnamon, and nutmeg. With the soup. Can't hide from me. I wish you could. Bloop. Cinnamon. No. 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, that lady Carol is at the barbecue again. Careful not to overmix. Sorry, I'm just trying to kill it. It smells like a hospital. Tomato spice. If pumpkin spice got hit by a bus. At least it's not moving. Icing. Shut up. Doesn't taste like tomato. Tastes like chocolate. A wacky cake from the Great Depression. So the stock market's crashed and we can't afford any butter, eggs, or milk. But little Johnny still wants a cake for his birthday. Selfish brat. Directly into a cake pan goes 1.5 cups of flour. A teaspoon of floof soda. One of the reasons this is called a wacky cake is because you don't need a bowl. Though living in the Depression, I think everyone needed a bowl. Cup of sugar. 1/3 cup of cocoa. Then we just mix it with a fork. Now we make 3 wells. I feel like a gardener. Do you guys remember Farmville? Those were the days. Into 1 well goes 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Next, 1/3 cup of oil. Nilla. And finally, a whole cup of water. Just mix it in the pan. Bake this at 350 for about a half hour. Ooh, it's a cake. Cool completely in the pan. For the frosting, we need 1 cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, then slowly add water until thick. Beautiful. What? How did that not stick? Are you a witch? Yes! That's a darn good cake. An emergency war cake. No eggs, no milk, no butter, no joy. There's no sugar either. Is this the cake? 2 teacups of raisins. How am I supposed to know how big your teacups are? Ira? 1 teacup of dates. Why do dead people like dates so much? Bam! Fire! 1.5 cups of molasses. Pretty sure this is how diesel is made. Cinnamon! Ira needs cloves. Easy does it. Wouldn't want to ruin a disaster. Here goes nothing. What in good God is this? Ira, honey, I'm going to war. Over what? Your cooking. Come on! This is the only cake that looks burnt before you bake it. Oh dear. Tastes like a boot. Like a size 10 boot.